I'm excited to bring you this week our program to the Galapagos Islands, the so-called laboratory of evolution. We'll talk a little bit about that during the webinar. Just a couple of quick words for those of you who are new to Wheel and Anchor. If you've just joined us recently, or if you've not participated in one of our webinars, we are a community of travelers from all across Canada, and we share kind of a like-minded view about how one goes about traveling the world. I mean, the nice thing about traveling with Canadians is that, I find that, we sort of travel with a bit of a soft touch and an appreciation and a desire to learn and ask questions and accepting of the traditions and cultures and so on around the world. And it's for me, it's an honor, I think, to travel with fellow Canadians. And it's largely the reason why we put Wheel and Anchor together, was because we just appreciate it that much more when we travel with people with the same philosophy. So that's kind of what we're all about. And I have a personal mission, which is to get every single one of our members well-traveled, and not just shuffling you from one place to the next as fast as possible, but rather to spend the time and get to know a little bit more, dig that layer deeper underneath the usual touristic sites, to understand a little bit the thinking, the mentality of people all around the world. And that's really a critical part of what we do. And invariably, we become quite well connected to each other as members of this community, as well as to the people we meet along the way. We have such fond memories of, and I know that some of our members have stayed in touch with some of the guides or some of our hosts or other people who we've met. And that's really what it's all about, because human connection is so important. Joining me on the webinar today, my name is Gordon. I'm the founder of Wheel and Anchor. I'm with Paula from my team here in Canada, who is one of our trip specialists and who you will speak to on the phone if you call in to ask questions or book a trip. And I'm joined by Pamela. We couldn't join us today. We've got Sebastian and Mario from Ecuador. Thank you guys for joining us. They're dialing all the way from, you're in Quito, are you not?
Yeah, we're in Quito.
You're in Quito. So they're joining us all the way from Quito, and they're going to, together with Sebastian and Mario, we've compiled this program because, having been to Ecuador and so on myself, I had a pretty good idea of what I wanted, but of course, our experts there pointed us in the right direction, and we've created this great program, and they're going to tell you a little bit about what to expect. We're going to go now on a little digital journey, should take about a half an hour, and we're going to go, and as it says here, explore some lonely rocks in the Pacific. Well, they're hardly lonely. They're actually teeming with life. And we'll get a few photos from that. So between Sebastian, Mario, and myself, we're going to take you on this journey through Ecuador and the Galapagos. We're heading there in April of 2024. And of course, as always, we hope that you will join us. So let's get into the program. First of all, as always, the map. The program starts in the capital city of Quito, which is located high up in the Andes. It's actually sort of in a valley, about 2,800 meters above sea level. One of the highest capitals in the Americas in its entirety. We fly to Quito. Unfortunately, there currently aren't any direct flights between Canada and Ecuador. I'm hoping that Air Canada may bring them back between now and 2024. But in the meantime, there's other ways to get there via Panama, via Miami, and it's actually a relatively easy starting point to get to. So we'll spend the first few days in Quito, visiting the city. It's a beautiful colonial city. We're going to head up into the Cayamba Valley, which is to the north of Quito, see some volcanoes, and we're going to make our way down overland, down the so-called Avenue of the Volcanoes, and you can see the topographics on the map. It's going to be left and right, incredible scenery from the Andes, all the way down to Cuenca. We're going to pass over a pass at El Cajas. So we're going to get up as high as 4,000 meters above sea level, but don't worry, we're not doing any jogging or anything at that elevation before heading to Guayaquil, where we'll just spend an overnight, a logistical stop to fly then to the Galapagos Islands, where we're going to spend a week aboard our private vessel, and then fly from there back to Guayaquil, from where we'll be able to go back to Canada. So that is the overview, the map of where we're going. And now, with the help of Sebastian and Mario, we're going to talk a little bit about the highlights As I said, day one, we're going to start April 20th of 2024 by flying into Quito. The nice thing is same time zone as, at least for those in Toronto, same time zone. So there's no jet lag. Leave early in the morning, arrive in Quito by the late afternoon, and have a day to relax, take in this city, and then we will from there have a couple of days where Sebastian and his team are going to show us around Quito. Tell us a little bit about what is special about this city. I have my own memories, very fond memories. I wish I had longer when I was there, but I was visiting you guys on a fam trip, so I was only in Quito for about a day. What do people find special about the city, Sebastian?
Yeah, sure, Gordon. So first of all, Quito was the first UNESCO World Cultural Heritage since declared in 1978.
That's right.
Basically, here our colonial town has most of the beautiful churches around the world. Many of them are built with different kinds of artistic point of view. Also, here we will visit a lot of them, and also visit, if you can see in the background of this photo, our Panecillo Hill, that is basically the most highest point on Quito. So we will have a beautiful panoramic view of what Quito downtown will be.
And Quito, and we'll get into it when we spend the day touring colonial Quito, the old town of Quito, where we're going to have our first full day after arrival. And it really is sort of this interesting juxtaposition of architecture. There's Spanish influences, obviously there's, all the Latin American and so on. What are the key things that we're going to see as we tour around the old part of Quito, which is, I think, the interesting area?
Yeah, so basically here what we will see are many of our main churches, like the cathedral that is in front of you in the main picture. We also have El Sagrario. We have La Basilica, that it was the couples that was on the last photo that we saw. Also, we have the San Francisco Church. One of the most beautiful ones is the also El Sagrario, and right in the corner is the Compañía, that is one of the most beautiful ones that has a lot of things with gold. So, and one of the most beautiful sculptures, also along with San Francisco. It will be a walk around the historic downtown.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a very walkable old part of the town. And so we will have a chunk of the day at leisure. And I know one of the questions that people always have about, particularly in Latin America, how safe is it during the day to walk around on your own in Quito?
Obviously, in the afternoon, it's safe to walk. Obviously, take your measurements. It's always kind of risky, but in the nights, if passengers don't go out of the hotel, will be fine. They could go out and walk around the town.
Yeah, it's pretty much the rule of thumb, I think, in Latin America is, during the day, you're mindful, just like you are in any big city. But in the evenings, we're all going out together for dinner. So you're good in groups, and as I say, Quito is all about this amazing colonial architecture. Also, of course, what we often don't think about is that Quito sits in the middle of the world, basically right on the equator. And so I think in the morning we're going to take that cable car ride up. Is that right?
Yeah. So for the third day, that will be the second day of tour. In the morning, we will go to our cable car. When we arrive to the top of the mountain near the falls of the Pichinche volcano, we will have a panoramic view of the whole city of Quito, where they can take a lot of pictures. Then we'll be going back to our artisan museum market here in Quito. We will have lunch near the Pulagua crater. That is one of the volcanoes that is left. It is not dead, it just slept. We will have lunch there, and in the afternoon we will go to the middle of the world complex where they have the opportunity to do this activity that is an egg balance on the top of the nail. Because, like Gordon says, we are in the place where the latitude 000 cross here in the middle of the world.
And I remember it being a very cool exhibit because it's a whole pavilion, and they have all these little experiments that you can do to show, what, the balancing of the egg being one of them. And there's a couple of different things, and it's really, really a fascinating exhibit. And it was one of those things that very much exceeded my expectations. We're also going to drive out of Quito to get a little bit of the countryside up to the north. We're going to head up into the Cayambe Valley, and this is where we're going to get our first glimpse of some of the incredible volcanoes of the Andes. What's the program for that day, or what are the highlights, Sebastian?
So basically, in the early morning, we will take the ride to the north part of Ecuador, to Otavalo specific city. We will cross Guayabamba and Cayambe. These valleys are really colorful, and also we will have the opportunity to see some of the volcanoes that are part of the avenue of the volcanoes. In the north part, there are Cotacachi, Cayambe volcano, and also Imbabura. We will arrive to Otavalo, where is most famous market, crafted market, because of the waving goods that you will see. You will have the opportunity to see a waving demonstration, and we will have a lunch in some of the near haciendas, one of the most iconic. And then after that, visit Cotacachi. That is a small town. And then we will be riding back to Quito.
Yeah, it's all in all, it's a great day, and I really enjoyed Otavalo. I mean, you go to markets anywhere in the world, and I know that our members really appreciate that. But the handcrafted, the hand weaved fabrics here and so on, incredible. Really, one of the most amazing. And I think this is one of the largest in all of South America, is it not?
It is one of the more recognized here in Latin America. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, it's a fantastic day out, and will be a great sort of a last day in Quito. From here, we're going to begin our overland journey to the south of Ecuador, down what they call the Avenue of the Volcanoes. And as I showed you on the map at the beginning, we're literally traveling in this valley where we have sort of volcanoes to the east and the west. And tell us, on our way down, we're going to pass Cotopaxi. And what's significant about this particular volcano?
Well, yeah, like you say, Gordon, Cotopaxi is one of the highest volcanoes we have here in Ecuador, in the world, basically. We will be riding from Quito. We will pass near Cotopaxi Falls. While we are on the highway, we will also pass some of the village that we have near the ride that we are going to Baños. And Baños downtown is our first stop. Basically, we are going to spend half of the day there, visiting the waterfalls that we have there. Basically, Baños is known because of the route of the waterfalls. We have different kind of waterfalls, and also we are doing some hiking. We are having lunch in Baños, and then we are riding to Riobamba, where we are going to spend the night. In the way back to Riobamba, we are going to visit a Chimborazo volcano also.
Yeah, so we're going to get lots of volcanoes. And if you've traveled amongst these volcanoes, they're active, but it doesn't mean that they're necessarily, exploding all the time. If we're lucky, we'll get to see a little bit of volcanic activity, as we pass some of these volcanoes that we'll be touring by over the next few days. So as Sebastian said, we're overnight in Riobamba, and then we're going to head further down on the way to Cuenca, and hopefully we're going to take a train trip. Is that right? Assuming they get their things back operational again this year.
Yeah, if we get the luck that in 2024 the train routes reopen, we are gonna take one of the most iconic routes here in Ecuador, that is the Diablo train ride. So yeah, and after that we are gonna visit the Ingapirca ruins, that are Incas ruins that when they established here in Ecuador around the 15th century.
Yeah.
And after that we go to Cuenca.
And then from there, we head down to Cuenca. And, what I found fascinating is that, I mean, we often associate Inca ruins with Peru, with Machu Picchu, and all the rest of it. But of course, the Incas settled throughout this region. And every time you see one of these structures and the amount of precision that was put in at that time, in the 15th century, it's mind-boggling. And so Inga Pirca is certainly a great example of that. And as Sebastian said, if we're lucky, at the moment the train isn't operational, but they're hoping that during the course of 2023, the Devil's Nose, this is one of the most scenic and awe-inspiring train trips in the whole of South America. So we'll arrive in the UNESCO town of Cuenca. I have not been to Cuenca before. What are we going to see there? What can we expect from this UNESCO town?
So the next day that we arrive, we're gonna spend the whole day in Cuenca. We will visit most of their museums, also the main Banco Central Museum, to know about the history of Cuenca like that. And also we are gonna do a small ride to Turi. That is the highest point where we're gonna see also a panoramic view about the city. Like Gordon Sims is also is part of the UNESCO declaration.
Yeah, I say I've not had the pleasure of visiting Cuenca, but I've heard it's really one of the most beautiful colonial cities. That's why it got UNESCO designation in the southern part of Ecuador. So we'll have 2 nights there, the day that we arrive from Riobamba, and then we'll spend a full day exploring this amazing town. And then we head basically back up to the north, to the coast, out to Guayaquil. And on the way, we're going to stop, or we're going to pass through El Cajas. What's special about El Cajas?
Well, basically, El Cajas, more like 4,000 meters above the sea level. This specific national park was declared because it has more than 200 lagoons. So we will see some of them while we ride alongside the national park, but basically also this day that we arrive to Guayaquil, we will have lunch at Hacienda where we will have a demonstration of cacao.
Yeah, so cacao is part of the ancient, the shamans used cacao for various ceremonies and healing purposes. And if you haven't participated in one before, it's really quite a remarkable thing, and will be definitely a highlight of the day. But this amazing scenery as we pass over it's called Tres Cruces, I think, the 3 Crosses is the name of the pass. Is that right, Sebastian?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
and we'll be up at 4,000, so like 13,000 feet. We won't have to move around too much, so you don't have to really worry about elevation, altitude sickness or anything like that, because we're going to be mostly riding in the van on that day. But we'll go from there all the way down to sea level over the matter of a couple of hours. Beautiful scenery. Will be a great day and the last day of the land portion of our trip. We'll arrive in Guayaquil, which is, I think Guayaquil is actually the largest city in Ecuador, isn't it? It's bigger than Quito, is it not? Or no?
Yeah, Guayaquil is quite bigger than Quito. Yeah.
Quito. But we're staying for the night in Guayaquil, but I've been there, not to be perfectly blunt, not really worth visiting, which is why we're only spending the night, but it is the gateway to the Galapagos Islands. So we'll overnight at a lovely boutique hotel in the city, and the next day head to the airport. And it's interesting, you fly to the Galapagos, it's like flying on an international flight, because there's passport checks, they check your very stringent checks, because of course they're trying to protect the local environment there. So I was really fascinated. I was very, very impressed by the whole way that the ecology of the Galapagos is managed in Ecuador. It's very, very, very well done. So we'll fly over about a 2 hours flight, and then we will land on the island of Baltra, which is where the airport is, and embark on our privately chartered vessel, the Coral 2. I'm really excited about this, that we were able to get this ship, which is operated by the company that Sebastian is with, and I've traveled with them before. I've been on this vessel. It's lovely. And tell us a little bit about what we can expect on the vessel, what the cruise is going to be like. How does the whole thing work?
Yeah, sure. For this part, is gonna join me my colleague Mario. He's gonna explain you all the about the boat and also the day-by-day itinerary. So he will join you right away. Give me just a
Great.
second.
There's Mario.
Hello, everybody. My name is Mario, and as Sebastian said, I'm going to explain a little bit about our services in Galapagos Islands. As
Great.
Gordon very well mentioned it, the Coral 2 is one of the most beautiful ships, small ships that we have in Galapagos. And also, as you can see in the picture, we have the Coral 1. Let me explain that we sell these two ships as one product, the Coral 1 and Coral 2. But obviously, your services will be on board of the Coral 2. The Coral 2 is Coral 1 and Coral 2 is our sister yacht, and always travel together doing the same itinerary and the same route. But it's important to mention that the groups on board of the Coral 1 and the group on board of the Coral 2 never mix in the island when you do the excursion to any specific point. Okay, well, the Coral 2 has a capacity of 20 passengers, and we have 11 cabins on board of the Coral 2. As you can understand, in a small yacht, we have very personalized services, giving an intimate experience. So, well, what I mean is that all our crew members will note your names, will note your allergies, your dietary restrictions. So everything will be very personalized for each of the passengers that we have on board of this beautiful and small ship. Talking specifically about the itinerary, when you depart from Guayaquil, you will arrive to Galapagos Islands. Well, the flight has a duration more or less 1 hour 45 minutes. So when you arrive to Galapagos Islands, the first step will be obviously meet with our naturalist guides. Our naturalist guides will pick up your luggage and immediately go on board of this beautiful ship, the Coral 2. The Coral 2, as I mentioned, that we have 11 cabins, but we have 2 cabin categories. There is Standard Plus, as you can see in the picture, with portholes. These cabin categories are located in the bottom of the ships, and we have just 4 of these cabin categories. But we also have the junior cabins with windows located in the top and also in the middle of the ship. So definitely the experience will be great. And as I mentioned, very personalized, because you will enjoy every detail of these ships, of this ship. This ship, well, it's important to mention also that each 2 years, every 2 years, our ships go to the dry dock. So in order that take care about the maintenance of the ship, about the carpets, the windows, all the details that we have on board of the ship. Okay.
And so they're basically always freshly refurbished is the thing. And that was my recollection. When I was on board, it felt brand new to me. So
exactly, that is the idea, in order to always be prepared and take care about all the little details that our passengers obviously enjoy in this amazing destination. Galapagos is one of the most beautiful places, and as you know, in Galapagos Island, we have different species and different beautiful places to visit. Beginning with the itinerary, when you arrive to Galapagos, you will go to the ship. Well, the first afternoon, you will visit
Santa Cruz.
Santa Cruz, definitely, because you will arrive to Baltra.
Yeah.
And you will arrive to Baltra and go to the ship, take the lunch, and immediately in the afternoon, we will visit North Seymour. Before Mosquera Island, we will be visit North Seymour. That is one of the most magical islands that we have in Galapagos Island, because we can see a lot of birds, a lot of sea lions, and you will enjoy this amazing landscape that North Seymour has for you. It's a very beautiful for bird watching activities. Take this in consideration.
And
Uh,
to mention, to interject, the thing that struck me when I arrived in the Galapagos Islands is, most of us are only familiar with it through, watching some documentary on Netflix or something like that. Is, I always imagined it to be, relatively small islands, but it's huge. It covers 8,000 square kilometers of territory, over about 19, I think, larger islands. You can't even visit a fraction of that in a week, but we're going to hit on the different islands that we'll visit, as Mario pointed out, some very different, and it's amazing. You go from one island to the next and you think you're going to a completely different part of the world. So I just wanted to mention that in the context of things, is that the difference in the wildlife, the flora, the fauna that you see at each of the stops along the way. So sorry to I just wanted to put that point in there. And on average, we're going to make 2 stops every day, right? We're going to stop in the morning. We're going to have an excursion. We'll go to a different landing spot, stop again in the afternoon.
Exactly, Gordon. We have 2 daily excursions, one in the morning, one in the afternoon, and obviously depend of the itinerary and the specific island. We have opportunities to do hiking, more or less 1 hour, 1 hour and a half, depend obviously the condition, the physical condition of our clients, and obviously we have snorkeling activities also included in our itinerary. So this is the most beautiful activity that you really need to do it, because, for example, we have different places as you can see Santa Fe Island. We can see hawks on the island, different birds, frigates, blue-footed boobies, but in the water also we can see sharks, we can see rays, sea turtles, that obviously giving the opportunity to feel very close to the wildlife. That is the most beautiful activities that you can do it there.
Exactly.
Definitely.
And I think you said it right. The other thing that really struck me in the Galapagos was the fact that the wildlife is not afraid. So, you'll walk along these paths. And I'll mention as well an important point, right? We're obviously not the only ship that's going to be going around the Galapagos Islands. However, there's a limited number of vessels, and they coordinate it so that no 2 ships are at the same landing point at the same time. Is that still correct, Mario? So
yes, obviously, Gordon, because we really need to keep in mind that we are operating inside of a national park, and obviously the national park authorities give us the permission to visit any specific point, because we have different cruises, as you well mentioned it, but the capacity of each point is delimited by the national park authorities, obviously taking in care about the flora and fauna that we have in Galapagos Islands.
It's a critical point, but this is why it's such a special trip to go to the Galapagos, because you'll arrive at a stop and, unlike other cruises in other parts of the world, and, there might be 10 other ships or whatever it happens to be, you're the only one there. You feel like you have the Galapagos to yourself. And you're going around with the naturalist guide, who, by the way, isn't part of their company. All of the naturalist guides come from the Galapagos. They are national park guides, and are, as far as I'm concerned, incredibly well informed about everything that you see, every rock, every blade of grass, every bird. And that, for me, was what it made it particularly special, because there's so much knowledge here. Anyway, let me let you carry on, Mario. Island. I love this. I really, Galapagos for me is like, it's like one of the penultimate places to visit.
Definitely. Definitely. Well, continue with the itinerary. We will also have the opportunity to visit San Cristobal Island. I would like to say that San Cristobal Island is the second city in Galapagos that has a population. As you can understand, the Galapagos Island is very beautiful because we have a lot of animals and incredible landscapes, but we also have people living there. But just in 3 points in Galapagos Island, and San Cristobal is one of these islands. In San Cristobal, we have the opportunity to see Punta Pit. The Punta Pit is located in the north part of the San Cristobal Island, and the most beautiful of this visit point is we can see the 3 booby species that we have in Galapagos. The blue-footed boobies, that is very popular, as you know. Also, we have the red-footed booby, that is completely different animal, but it's very beautiful because have the feet are red. And also we have the Nazca boobies, that is a white bird. So we can see the difference between this same species, and obviously understand the point of Charles Darwin, because when Charles Darwin arrived to this beautiful island, he developed his theory of evolution, taking in care about the different animals and how these animals adapted to this beautiful beautiful place. So we can understand very well in this particular point the evolution and how these species adapted to the landscapes that we have in Galapagos.
Into these very, very different landscapes. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, this is Punta Pita. As I mentioned, that we also can see a big colony of sea lions. And when, remember my words, when you do the snorkeling activities, you can see how the sea lions play with you in the water. So this is a very beautiful moment, a very beautiful, very magical moment, because the sea lions are very, very friendly with the tourists, and obviously always want to swim with our weather visitors there. Very beautiful there.
It's
Activity.
it's an incredible experience. And again, it's, you go to other parts of the world and you see sea lion colonies, but this is the only place when I've ever had the experience of swimming with them. And I'll tell you, there is nothing like it. One of the other islands that we'll visit, and we'll visit a few, that's why we decided to do a week-long trip in the Galapagos. Some people only do 3 or 4 nights. But I know when I went, I was only with these guys for 3 nights, and I really wish I could have stayed there for a lot longer, because there is so much to see, and it really is worth it. Tell us about Española Island.
Okay, in Española Island is another magical island that we have in Galapagos, because we can see, well, the key of Española is that we can see the biggest bird that we have in Galapagos. Is called the albatross. So when you are traveling, is in April, you have the opportunity to see the mating dance of the albatrosses, and obviously that is a very special activity and very close to you, very close to the path, so no more of 1 meter, 2 meters from you, and it's a great moment to take a beautiful pictures, videos about the wildlife. This is a very magical activity also there. As Gordon well mentioned it, 7 nights on board of the Coral 2 will be great, because with 7 nights you can almost see all the animals that we have in Galapagos Island. It's a very good option to do it.
And if you're going to go all that way and fly all the way out into the middle of the Pacific Ocean, you might as well see as much as you can. On Floriana, we get the flamingos. I love the flamingos.
Yeah, in Floriana, we can see some population of flamingos that is very beautiful to, well, this is a very beautiful animal. And also we have in Floriana a magical beach. So the sand is white sand. It's very beautiful to take a nice pictures, very close also the sea lions. But the magical in Floriana, obviously will see the flamingo bears.
Yeah,
Definitely.
absolutely. So, and then we will make our way back to Baltra Island. Baltra Island is also where they have the Charles Darwin Research Station. Is that right?
Well, no, Charles Darwin Research Station. We will do
We'll do it at the beginning of the
in
itinerary.
the second day, right? In the second day. At the last day, we see the highlands of San Cristobal. So it's another place, very beautiful to see this kind of tortoise, completely free. Yeah, so this is in Charles Darwin, you will see it is a breeding station. So you can see how our local people take care about these beautiful animals. But in the highlands, you have the opportunity to see completely free. So this is amazing because when you think in Galapagos, these tortoise come to our minds because this is the Galapagos tortoise. This is the giant turtle in Galapagos. So great opportunity to see even on the road and when you arrive to the highland of Galapagos. Nice activity also.
It really is. I didn't get to see this one because I wasn't there long enough. I remember visiting the research station, which is phenomenal because you get to see how they are repopulating the islands with the tortoises because they were almost decimated, back some decades ago. But they've come back super well thanks to the efforts there. And this is, again, to be able to see them in the wild is not something that you often see because in many parts of the world, of course, they're protected, so they're sort of shielded off. But here in the Galapagos, and they are magical creatures. I can't say enough about them, and so many other forms of wildlife. That's why I affectionately call this, it's like a safari by sea because of all that we'll see along the way. So we'll have a week aboard the Coral 2, cruising around the Galapagos, seeing all the wildlife. We will make our way back to Guayaquil, flying back, where we'll have one more night before we fly back to Canada. So let me now touch on a few of the logistics items, and then we'll go to your questions. I'm sure there must be questions about the Galapagos, so it would be a good time to type them into the chat box to let Paula know. This program starts for a junior cabin here at 11,880. It's obviously Canadian dollars. That's for the whole land program, the whole 2 weeks that we're going to be, more than 2 weeks that we're going to be there. And we've created as good of a solo price for single travelers as we can in the Standard Plus cabin. So we've actually reserved those for our solo travelers because we know there's a lot of you out there. The junior cabins, I didn't have a picture of them. It'll be in our program itinerary, have the picture windows. And so, yeah, that's how we've set it up. And as usual, that includes pretty much everything. I mean, all your breakfasts every day. We have lovely hotels, both on the mainland and of course, accommodation on the Coral 2. On board, 3 meals a day. You've got beverages in there, all of the shore excursions. So the program is really quite inclusive. There's a few meals on land that are not included because we think it's important to go out and enjoy some of the restaurants as well in Quito. And of course, the details in our program itinerary. The only thing extra, of course, airfare and insurance, which we can quote you on. And getting down there is not as bad as you think. That you can get flights actually even less than $900 if you book it in advance. But from the east coast of Canada for sort of $900 to $1,000, $1,200, a little bit more if you're flying from the west to get down to Quito. That's of course economy class round trip airfare. And let's now go and address some of your questions. But of course, Paula and Barb always available to answer any questions that you do have if you don't get them answered today. So Paula, let us know.
Definitely. We've got a couple questions that have come in here. Ingrid's asking with regards to snorkeling equipment, will that be available?
Mario, snorkeling equipment is provided on board the ship.
Yeah, okay. For all the snorkeling activities on board of the Coral 1 and Coral 2, sorry, we will provide mask, the tube, and also the fins. It's complete. This is included. We have one option, depend of each person, to rent a wetsuit if they would like.
Yeah.
Rent the wetsuit.
Perfect. Yeah, and I think you're mentioning the wetsuit because the water temperatures can be a bit chilled for those that might want the extra layer. on.
That would be the only thing is if you have a wetsuit, bring it along. I recall snorkeling without a wetsuit. I thought it was fine. But you know, everybody's has a different sensitivity to the water. It's not tropical warm, even though you're at the equator. And I'm not going to go into that, but because there are various currents, the Humboldt current and so on, that affect the Galapagos Islands. So the water temperature in April is probably what, around 20 degrees, 21?
Yes, probably.
So it's,
As you can understand, at this stage, we have a lot of changes with the weather. So this is the normal temperature that we have in April.
exactly. Good.
That brings us to another question, Gordon, with regards to the weather this time of year, like between the mainland portion and the time on the islands.
Yeah, for sure. And we're going to go through different weather zones there. Because of course, when you're in Quito and the cities in the Andes, you're quite high up, but we're also in the middle of the tropics. So I think weather-wise, Sebastian, when we're in Quito at this time of the year, probably daytime temperatures around 20 degrees, maybe a little warmer or a little cooler. Is that right?
Yeah, Gordon, like here in Quito will be around, in the mornings could be like to 13 degrees, but during the day with the sun and all, and having a good day, it could be 22 degrees.
Yeah, so it's perfect temperature there. And then in the Galapagos part of the trip, it's a little bit warmer, I think, the outside temperature, yeah?
Yeah, like it is in the coast, is really more warm climate than here in Quito.
Yeah, exactly, because obviously it's sea level and you're at the equator. So on that note, I think the question will be raised, what are the sea conditions like? So I'm going to be on this Coral 2, which is obviously not a large ship for a whole week. How are the sea conditions? Is it rough? Is it fairly calm usually?
Well, naturally depend of each island. So close to San Cristobal is a little rough, but when we navigate, when we have the navigations, we feel a little movement of the ship. But for example, in another islands like Floriana, like Española, also close to San Cristobal, the water is very calm. So obviously depend of the each part of Galapagos Island. As you well mentioned, Galapagos is huge and we really need to travel and navigate a lot of. So it depends of each part of the island.
But my recollection of it is that, first of all, the Galapagos Islands seldom see any major storms. You don't really get cyclones or typhoons or anything like that there. It's in a very interesting place with the weather patterns. And as well, at least I was there, the 3 or 4 days that I was there, I found that, you know, there's some gentle roll to the sea, but it's not, and again, as Mario points out, it depends where you are in relation to the other islands and so on. I think that for those that are susceptible to seasickness, as we've said with other programs, you can get a patch, you can take some Gravol or some other motion sickness medication, and you're going to be fine. So it's not like crossing the Drake Passage to Antarctica, I can tell you that. Good. How are we looking for questions, Paula? That
you answered the last one so far that's come in. So great. Others can reach out to Barb and I offline if they'd like.
Please do if you have any other questions at all. We're here, both Sebastian and Mario and the rest of their team are here to answer any questions. And the last thing I'll say in closing is the Galapagos, if it's not at or near the top of your bucket list, it should be. It is really, really one of the most amazing experiences in the world that I have ever done. And I'm excited to go back. Mario, Sebastian, thank you so much for your time. It's been very helpful to hear from you guys in Ecuador what it's all about. So we're excited to come.
Thank you very much for your time. And obviously, I think the questions will come and feel free to contact us because we'll be very happy to answer all the questions and clarify any doubt about our country, about the Galapagos Islands. Thank you very much for your time once again.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gordon, thank you very much for your time, and we will hope to see you all here in the Galapagos on 2024.
Most definitely. We look forward to seeing you, in fact. Okay, take care, everyone. Have a nice day, and join us next week for Ireland next Tuesday. Details in the newsletter this weekend. Have yourselves a wonderful day.